we have a new legal development involving the people who have disappeared to the El Salvadorian prison. So, as you know, the UN started after World War II to kind of help maintain peace, world order. The United States was a huge implementer of the UN. And ironically, it's the UN that families are turning to for help because they're not getting the help that they need from the United States justice system. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break down what's happening. So 4 families went straight to the UN saying, my family members have disappeared to this El Salvadorian prison. We need them back. And UN opened up an inquiry. I mean, it's astounding when you think about it. The United States used to be the world leader, let's say, in morality and ethics and the rule of law, the democracy that people look to, the shining light on the hill, as they say. But now the UN has opened up an inquiry into how we have disappeared people to a prison in a foreign country and have told judges we cannot get back. The families of these 4 people, Andre Hernandez Romero, Franco Carabello, Leonel Echavez, Aneo Sarabia, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing some of those names, but all 4 Venezuelan men who were sent to CECOT under Trump's attempt to invoke the Aliens Enemy Act and obviously sending them without due process. So the inquiry was opened at the UN, specifically the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances, looking into the United States government's actions. Unprecedented. We are just getting into an era of lawlessness we never expected. So as a part of this inquiry, El Salvador sent a report and basically said, we do not have legal jurisdiction over the people the United States sent. Let me go ahead and just quote what they said. The Salvadorian state emphatically states that its authorities have not arrested, detained, or transferred the persons referred to in the communications of the working group. The actions of the state of El Salvador have been limited to the implementation of a bilateral cooperation mechanism with another state, through which it has facilitated the use of the Salvadorian prison infrastructure for the custody of persons detained within the scope of the justice system and law enforcement of that other state. In this context, the jurisdiction and legal responsibility for these persons lie exclusively with the competent foreign authorities by virtue of international agreements signed and in accordance with the principles of sovereignty and international cooperation in criminal matters. In this regard, the actions attributable to the Salvadoran state are limited to its sovereignty and territorial jurisdiction, and therefore cannot be held responsible for the failure to observe the principle of non-refoulement with respect to the persons mentioned. So really clearly there, El Salvador is saying, like, we are keeping them here, but whether or not they're here legally is all about the country that sent them, the United States. That the United States has the jurisdiction and legal responsibility for the people we have sent to this El Salvadorian prison, which is the exact opposite of what the United States has said. And so this report has now been included and I imagine it will be in even more legal cases here in the United States. Of course, the Judge Boasberg case, because we saw a declaration of Michael Kozak that was the exact opposite of this. And then also in the case of JOP versus the Department of Homeland Security, that was a class action lawsuit brought by unaccompanied minors who were not able to file asylum because of a 2019 policy that changed the asylum rules. That has since been reversed by a memo. Of course, 2019, that was during Trump's first administration. There was an unaccompanied minor specifically in that case. They use his name Christian. Now he is 20 years old. He was sent to this CECOT in March, and they are trying to get him back. And Judge Gallagher, in a completely separate case, attached the report that was included as an exhibit to Judge Boasberg in the plaintiffs in that case. And she on her own, one of the parties didn't even attach it yet. She on her own issued an order saying, hey, this is in contradiction of what the government has been saying. You need to explain yourself. So we have two different cases that this report is already making big waves. And because let me just quote to you what the declaration of Michael Kozak said. So he said, and this was what the court had relied on in Judge Boasberg's case. It said, quote, "It was and remains my understanding that the detention and ultimate disposition of those detained in CECOT and other Salvadorian detention facilities are matters within the legal authority of El Salvador in accordance with its domestic and international legal obligations." So because of what they said to the court, a declaration is something that you say under oath. So if you lie about it, is perjury. It's the same as if you were in the witness stand and you put up your right hand. Declaration is the same thing. So that's why it's treated as evidence in court. And the court relied on that to say that basically the government doesn't have, quote, constructive custody. If the government doesn't have constructive custody, then they cannot bring back the person because they don't have constructive custody. And the court was very clear at saying that this was based on, quote, the current record, the evidence of which was this government declaration. Now we have the El Salvadorian government filing something with the UN saying the complete opposite. And this being now brought to the attention of Judge Boasberg and Judge Gallagher. I mean, it's hard to overemphasize the fact that Judge Gallagher on her own brought this and decided to attach this, showing how important it is that this new evidence, because of this UN inquiry, is coming to light, saying El Salvador is saying they do not have custody. The United States has custody. And so this is just the beginning of more hope for these families. Hope, now these government are going to have to come back into court and basically explain themselves. I don't know about you, but I'm always looking for a new product for my skin, something that works and feels great. I received this Tighten and Lift neck cream from GoPure, and I love the way it feels. It's soft, but it also just melts into my skin. And we spend so much time caring for the skin on our face, but what about our neck? Unless you're wearing turtlenecks all day, your neck is out there for the world to see. Mine certainly is every time I put on the video. And it's one of the first places to show signs of aging, which is why I make sure to help protect my neck with great skincare products like GoPure. And that's why GoPure Beauty developed their revolutionary Tighten and Lift neck cream, powered by clinically proven active ingredients. This advanced formula is designed to visibly firm, smooth, and rejuvenate the delicate skin on our neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. Because here's the thing, the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate, and less oily than facial skin, meaning it requires specialized care. All GoPure products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, and sulfate-free, so you're giving your skin clean, effective care without the harsh chemicals or compromises. With over 1 million jars sold, this beauty secret is no longer a secret. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off GoPure with code MISTRIAL at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com, use code MISTRIAL, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask where you heard about GoPure, tell them it was from our show. So Judge Gallagher makes note in this letter in which she quotes from the UN report. El Salvadorians claim that the United States has custody, legal custody, let's say, of these men, is, hey, I had an order back June 5th where I ordered the government to come in and tell me how they were facilitating the return of Christian. And instead, what you said to me was that they had needed to ask assistance, quote, assistance from the United States Department of State, and that they had, quote, entered into negotiations to facilitate Christians' return and, quote, assumed responsibility on behalf of the U.S. government for diplomatic discussions with El Salvador. Basically, what they were telling the judge was that this wasn't just a matter of something that we could do by court order, that we can facilitate it. This has now become like a diplomatic discussion between the two countries. And this is the Department of State. It's beyond our control. It's beyond our power. And of course, the executive branch has, ultimate authority around the Department of State. This was their way of trying to skirt the issue. But when El Salvador says, no, it's not a matter of us having these men. And so, of course, you can't order El Salvador to return men that they feel like they lawfully should be able to keep in their country. Sure, that can become a diplomatic, sensitive, let's say, discussion between sovereign nations. No, El Salvador is saying, these men are yours. Like, you are just paying us for the use of the facility, which they are paying. They're paying them millions of dollars. El Salvador is really just describing, let's say, the contractual agreement that we are aware of, which is we are paying them. It isn't a matter of they feel like they need to be in their prison because they they were committed a crime in their country, and so they should be able to serve time in their country. We know there's a monetary contractual obligation around this, and El Salvador is saying that, like, you are just using our facility. So completely guts the argument that they were saying to Judge Gallagher that this is really a diplomatic, thing with a sovereign nation, when El Salvador just puts it out the UN saying, hey, there you go. So that's not going to be an argument that the government can use anymore in court, because El Salvador has just completely gutted that argument. They're saying, hey, you can have them. They are already yours. So they can't use that kind of diplomatic sovereign excuse anymore. So it's a big win for the families of the people who have been disappeared, who have not had due process in this country. And the irony that it's the United Nations helping to give relief to these families and not our own United States government. It just shows, the really fragile state our democracy is in as a result of this Trump regime. If you have not already subscribed yet, be sure to hit the free subscribe. So many legal updates coming out of this administration.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.miidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.